no competition, ran a marathon down there, won it, decided to come back here, and you know, what an upset to be that close. And it's just a coincidence. He happened to go to the same college as another great marathoner who pulled a few upsets. He went to Yale, as did Frank Shorter. But this race at the front is very, very tight. Gomez really had Alberto on the ropes for a while, and on the ropes because there's a couple of ways to run a marathon. One is to pick it up at the end, but most marathoners are just concerned with maintaining the pace. They go out and they try and hold on. And for a while there, Alberto was not even able to hold on. It wasn't that Gomez threw in a fast mile and opened up a gap. Gomez just maintained, and Salazar had to fall off the pace. Now, he's reeled him back in, but he is obviously not going to have an easy time with Gomez here. Salazar training runs in practice who start to shine at 20 miles, and it's almost as if the physiologist sitting back there watching television said, I could have predicted that.
And look at this.
Trained correctly.
They are just side by side right now, just running together. Salazar, last year's winner, and Lopez. Boy, this is really something. As you say, the battle of thought goes on. These are the leaders. Remember, behind them, 16,000 other runners, male and female, young and old. Well, you know, back in the teens, a Frenchman won the Indianapolis 500 and actually did, at every pit stop, drink champagne, and they made a lot of pit stops in those days. And at the end of the race, he said, without the good wine, I could not have won it. That's not the case with these leaders, you can be sure, as they're into Central Park now, entering the closing stages of the race, still measured in miles, of course. Gomez on the right, Salazar on the left.
No, they're not taking any more drinks. They probably haven't had a drink for the last 5 miles. If you stopped to drink at this point, you would probably never make back up to 10 yards. You would lose. Gomez now seems to be resigned to waiting and trying to beat Salazar over the last 2 or 3 miles. He tried some surges. He tried to pull away, but Alberto was able to reel him back in. Really, they're in kind of a little resting period to see who is going to make the first move, who is going to pick it up first. Gomez has been pushing the pace, and he's gathering himself, as we like to say, psychologically and mentally. He's trying to take a little break from the rigors of leading so that when Alberto moves, or when he decides he can move, he can maintain it to the finish. Alberto looks good, looks well within himself, doesn't appear to be worried, doesn't appear to be struggling, but Gomez certainly looks very good at this point also.
Just a little under 3 miles to go right now. The last mile was done in exactly 5 minutes unofficially. The 23-mile time, 1 hour and 54 minutes flat.
As just the slightest bit, we could see from our long shot, seems to be pushing it a little bit. And I'm talking about inches now, just testing by inches. Up here we see one. Okay, here's a burst from Alberto. We're going to see something now. From the head-on shot, it looks as if Alberto is trying to lift the knees, trying to go to the arms a little bit and open up some lead, but he's certainly not moving away from Gomez. You'll see they're crossing from side to side on the street. They're not following the blue line. They're allowed this year to cut the tangents as it is and run the shortest possible distance.
But excuse me, but they will still run, as it's been measured, at least an official marathon. That's what they tell us. These are both married men, by the way. On the left, Salazar has been married since the last New York Marathon. He has a very small baby now, he and his wife. As for Gomez, he has a 6-year-old son, Rodolfo Jr., and Alejandro, who's 20 months old, his wife, Elisa. So a couple of families rooting these 2 men in.
Well, they're both seasoned veterans. Gomez was born and lives at high altitude, which is very good for anyone who wishes to run the marathon. He doesn't have quite the speed that Alberto has, even though... well, I take that back. That's my mistake. I think Gomez does have some more speed at the end of the race, but Alberto has probably got some more strength. I think we'll see Alberto making the first move. When it'll come at this point, I don't know, because I think Alberto's had to throw all of his race plans out the window.
Alberto being Salazar on the left, Gomez on the right. We'll be back for the finish live of the New York City Marathon of 1980, and particularly in Central Park. The excitement is building as the New York City Marathon nears its conclusion for 1982. It is Rodolfo Gomez in the orange uniform, Alberto Salazar right next to him, right on his right shoulder. Gomez, who was born and spent all his life in Mexico, citizen of that country. Salazar, who was brought to this country as a baby by his parents when they left Castro's Cuba. He grew up in Massachusetts, went to school in Oregon. As we said, he was married last year, has a son, Alberto Roberto, who will be 2 months old on Wednesday of this week.
Well, there's no question in my mind that Alberto's not very happy about this happening. He has said before that he doesn't like anyone with him the last 6 miles of a marathon, and he's got someone with him who's going to be, here they are, going up a hill, and Alberto's making the move. They've been trying to make moves, but I don't think either of them is really strong enough to make a big move and pull away. Alberto just tried again to move away. Gomez came right back on him, and now Gomez is going. It's partly psychological. Neither of these men is weak enough mentally that they're going to just collapse at the first sign of a hard surge. Their lives are for this. Their lives are geared to the training. They're not thinking in their mind, does it hurt? Am I going to make the decision to make it hurt? That was made months ago during the training. They're almost like a yoga person where their mind has been trained to go to the finish. One of them will stagger to the finish. I don't know which one.
Okay, him about 100 yards behind. In fact, Dave Murphy is third right now, and he is 50 seconds behind these leaders. Definitely a two-man race, no question about it. And neither one of them, to my uneducated eye, Marty, appears to be in any distress at all. What do you think?
I think they're both in distress to an equal amount, as I see it right now. Neither of them is strong enough to make a move from this far out and be confident of holding it. Because with a marathon like this, with so much on the line, I know Alberto, if he was feeling good, would not let it come down to the last 2 miles.
But could Gomez be holding it? Could Gomez be holding it for the last mile?
Oh, I think they're both gambling now on a last-minute sprint, perhaps on Central Park South, or even after they make the last turn, come back into the park.
Is going back and forth here. Must be an awful lot of personal sight-to-sight going on.
I think it's hard to explain to a person who hasn't been there, but when you're next to a guy like that, you've been next to him for 6 miles, you hear his breathing, you can almost read his thoughts. You notice if his shoulder carriage changes the least bit. You notice if his stride length changes, if his knees aren't coming up. It's almost like fencing. You can notice the slightest thing, and if you notice one, sometimes you try and make a break and get by. You know, Alberto had that bad patch 3 miles ago where he was having trouble holding on. He was on the rope, so to speak, but he kind of covered up like a boxer, just kept plugging, and slowly got Gomez back in. But now that's all too late. Now it's a sprint. Now this is really turned into a track race. They're in the park where there's good footing, there's no potholes, none of that kind of stuff's going to happen. And Alberto now, it's fencing. It's back and forth. One feint, one jab, and nobody will drop off.
Some fencing match. It's been 2 million people watching them, and a tremendous proportion of that number are gathered in the park and on Central Park South. Alberto beginning to make a move, it looks like, moving out at least a couple of yards in front of Gomez. Gomez says he's fast, and he can stick with them all the way, but he's done a 4:01 mile. But right now it could or could not be that Salazar is making his move.
Sprint and oxygen debt starts to sink in. What's hurting? Are the legs really tightening up now in this close race?
I think that their thighs have been taking a lot of pounding, and that's where they're feeling it. If it comes down to that last 200 meters, and they have to get up on their toes, and they have to sprint, they have to start using their arms more. I just ran a 4:31 mile, and the guy is still there.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
You can't do much more than that to try and break away. It's like a track race now. They are really moving. They are moving quickly. They're open psychologically. We just are seeing two men whose minds are made up so much that even after 2 hours, neither one is willing to give an inch. So they're 5 minutes away from the finish, maybe 1 mile. And I always dreamt about marathons. This has got to be the worst feeling in the world, to run this long and have 5 minutes ahead of you and have somebody right there and just psychologically have to break him psychologically before you break.
And now look at the crowd urging them on with gestures and with sound. They're on Central Park South, passing the Plaza Hotel.
This is the best place to make a surge. It's flat, it's straight, but as I step back down off that curve, once they're satisfied that they've got good footing, somebody's going to make a big sprint. And boy, are those people at the finish line going to be excited, because we've never seen finish in a marathon this close.
I've certainly never seen one. There was a 2-second finish between Salazar and Beardsley at Boston, but 2 seconds, after all, is about 10 or 15 yards. These men are absolutely zero apart from each other, and there's not that much further to go.
Well, what happened with Beardsley and Salazar? Salazar had a lead for, for 100, 200 yards, and Beardsley closed the gap, and brought it to within 2 seconds, which is different than this, because someone here is going to have to pull away in the last 200 or 300 yards.
It could be somebody's going to win this by hundredths of seconds.
Absolutely. Hardy, wouldn't it be a smart move right now for Salazar, knowing he may not have that quick sort of 100-meter speed that Gomez does, to try to pull away now and suck a little bit of that wind out of Gomez?
Oh, yeah. He's got to be the first one to make a move now. Alberto's got to be the first one. And really, you don't think about this much in a marathon, but as Jim said, I would be thinking about how I'm going to lean and dive at the tape, because Alberto won't know he's won until the last 10 yards. He's going to have to dive at that tape, because even if he pulls away in the last 100 yards, Gomez will throw himself at the tape in the last 10 and possibly outlean him.
What a foot race we're having. This is one for sure they'll be writing about and talking about for long years to come, when Salazar and Gomez battle it out step for step through the streets of New York. It may be that we won't know who won when they cross the finish line. Well, this could be a photo finish in a marathon.
I hope they have a photo finish camera for the race. No one will be, neither of these runners will be waving to the crowd when they finish. And this is where the weight work comes into play. Alberto doing some weight work, because the arms now are very important.
They're a bit obscured there. The camera obscured by something.
Raised as they go over that little patch of grass.
Salazar taking the lead.
He made his break on the bad footing. A good, smart move.
Well, he's gotten the lead. Can he hold it? Not very far to go now. They're back into Central Park, headed for the finish line. Salazar trying to win his 3rd consecutive New York City Marathon. Rodolfo Gomez, who's won his last 4 marathons, trying to pull out just one more.
It's funny, we talked the whole first half of the race about the record, the world record. Are they on pace? And now the race is so exciting, that's not even in our minds anymore.
385 yards to go, and Gomez is certainly not out of it. He was taken by surprise when they got on the grass. The footing was bad, and some dust was raised up, and maybe he opened his eyes and he saw that Salazar was gone.
I was wondering if that was a smoke bomb or something that we couldn't see. Our camera was peering through some sort of haze. You saw Salazar take a look back, and I think he believes that all is well now. He's going to win his 3rd in a row. Uphill, too.
He's looking back. It is hurting. He doesn't want to have to give out any more than he needs to. He's got to think about maintaining, not stumbling, not cramping up, because picking up the pace this much at the end, you could cramp up. Gomez now looks tired. His arms carriage is going from side to side more than from front to back. Boy, you can see he's really wobbling.
Here's the finish. Alberto Salazar has won 3 in a row. The New York City Marathon is his again. Not collapsing, holding his side. Now, leaning on Gomez, there is a picture to remember. Alberto Salazar bending over now. There is Fred Lebow, the president of the New York Road Runners, helping him. This is just about the shape he was in last year, as I recall, Marty.
Well, it looks like deja vu. We've seen that Alberto can push himself by himself as he did last year, but now he's also been able to push himself when there's someone with him neck and neck, and that's different. Not all runners can do it both ways.
About 2:09:28, the unofficial time there. Alberto Salazar, though, the winner, and that is the main point, and he can look forward now to Los Angeles, 1984. What a competition that could be when there'll be both the men part. The New York City Marathon continues. Our live coverage continues. The women's winner has not yet been officially determined. It appears that Greta Weitz will win easily. Here are the men's results. Alberto Salazar of the United States winning his 3rd straight. Rodolfo Gomez of Mexico finishing 2nd. Daniel Schlesinger from Raleigh, North Carolina, who never did a marathon under 2:17 and who has been translating things from the Korean for 2 years, finished 3rd, a remarkable performance. Rizard Marchak of Poland, who was very much in it last year, was way out.